Hello everybody, it's Michelle from Pickle Hill Design on Etsy, and I am going to do my first tutorial, and it is on this tiny folio. My inspiration for this folio was a project that I finished recently. This regular size folio. This had a Alice in Wonderland theme, and it's really big. I think it's like 12, it's almost 12 inches, 10 inches by almost 12 inches, and folds out to great lengths. It's very big. There's a video on my YouTube channel for a walkthrough of this folio, but today we're going to talk about this little guy. There is a challenge issued on Foxy Crafter's Facebook group to do something mini. It's called Make It Mini, and since I was doing folios recently, it was just, I don't know, the next logical step for me to do a little folio. So, this folio is about 2 inches by about 1.5 inches, or almost 4 centimeters. Ooh. Well, almost 5 centimeters. That's a nice glare. Ooh. So we can take a peek inside. I had not done a walkthrough video on this because it was just to post to the Facebook group, but it is so cute. I wonder if I can get closer. Let's try. Okay, so a lot of the ephemera in here is from my personal stash, like these two focus things right here. And I have these, oh, I'll have to pull out again. I have these listed, digital files listed on my Etsy shop as well. So this is this one, and here is the original of this tiny check. It's so cute. So some of these are from my personal stash, which I am willing to share with you. Find that listing on Etsy, and these and this little lady were a freebie offered on Artie Mays and Friends Facebook group. So thank you, Andrea Allen, Artie Mays person. Appreciate that. They're so pretty. And so here's another little piece of ephemera from my collection. Paper from, oh, this was a digital collage that I did. Images from Graphics Fairy, and then just background paper, music paper. This is ephemera piece from my collection. So there's a little tiny tag cut out. There's lace here. I have a die that puts a cute little, I don't know where it went, a cute little edge around for texture. And there's a book page, a little bird on there. Oh, and I have a little die for this tag with a tiny piece of the edge of a piece of lace. I have bad allergies. I apologize if my throat is audibly yucky. There's a little piece of blue lace behind these pretty ladies. The top and the bottom have these removable tags, these flaps. Everything really had to be very flat because it was getting bulky pretty quick. There's some music paper. Let's take a look in here. First page, oh, and here's some coupons. I think these were from the Graphics Fairy. I can't remember. Maybe they're mine. So I just did I did this all in Photoshop, so I put them all next to each other, and then I cut out little little notches, and I actually did pinpricks with my awl down in the centers of these. But they're pretty hard to tell that they're there at all. But they're cute. They're tiny. So that goes in here, a little tiny flower image. And this is hard to see, a little strip of sheer ribbon. This background paper is from Manu Design Studio on Etsy. Here's a little Tiffany advertisement from a National Geographic's book that I have. And inside is another little collage. And more of that ribbon, sheer ribbon. This was really just a lot of trial and error before I could get this right. I really didn't feel like this flap was long enough to stay shut. It would just kind of stick out. So I put a piece of ribbon on there because there are no rules. Music paper. Here's another invoice from my collection. Is it going to focus there? Isn't that cute? Tea, coffee, and spices. I think that says 1889. Not that you'll ever be able to see it. Here's a piece of lace. Not lace. It's a paper doily that I cut a little piece off of. I made a little square piece to go in the corner. It's a little corner tuck. Another piece of Menu design paper. Here is a miniaturized copy of a National Geographic magazine that I own. Cannot find, but I did own it, or do own it. There's some images and from a magazine. There's the back of the Nat Geo. And not that you'll ever be able to see it, but I have a little magnifier that I can read. On the spine it says National Geographic magazine, and the volume and the date. And the date, I think it was 1921, June of 1921. I don't pretend to be able to read that right now, but I seem to recall that. And so it goes in this belly band from that same sheer ribbon, which has little glittery, sparkly bits. So here's just some tiny writing paper, if you can write really tiny, with the mushroom cut out, some book paper, and I found, I have a lot of super old books, and I found one with some footnotes because I had the smallest type. Here is another little cutout, and a flower tag, or book paper, butterfly, and here's like a little button, I don't know, little metal button with a jewelry kind of thing. And really that's it. That's my tiny folio. So much fun to make. I love tiny things. And apparently lots of other people like tiny things too. So I'm going to try to show you how I made this through trial and error. And hopefully I do a semi-decent job of explaining. And so let's get started. Here is the two pieces of paper that I used for my tiny folio. I decided after it was requested of me to do a tutorial that I would change some things because my first effort was my first effort, and I would like to do better, and I can do better. So I kind of changed up this will be the outside. I kind of changed that up so that it is not, I don't know, not that it's busy, but there's different things going on in the one that I'm going to use for the tutorial than in the original. These pages I think are the same. I may have changed one because it was just plain, and I thought I would like to make something nicer. I didn't use all of the extra pieces, probably mostly from this one. But so you would have choice. If you were to use this kit, I'm not sure if I'm able to sell it or make it available. I might have to just share it somehow otherwise. I'm not sure yet. But you'd have options, so there's no way I don't think that you could fit everything in the book in the folio lit. But you have options. So there's the little tickets that would need to be, they're coupons, that would need to be altered slightly to make them more authentic-y ticket shapes. But here's the Nat Geo and the magazine pages, and I will start by cutting these things all out and go from there. So the backs of these, if I would take the time to show you everything first, I have printed some things on the back because when I went through, just some patterns on the back of the pages, because when I went through doing my original first one, the back I had left blank, and so I was left having to make up something to cover up all the white space, including here, which I used Tim Holtz tissue, and that worked fine, but I could do better. I decided I could do better, so I printed something out to begin with, so there's less glue and less trying to match up edges and making sure they're perfect. So always improving, right? Always improving. So let's start there. Okay, so these are my coupons, and let me show you what I do to make them coupon-y looking. Hole punch. I'll never be able to get this. And so I just do that in between each pair and the edges to just the corners of the edges, corners of the corners. And the other side. I could let you see, but then I can't see. Okay. Pretty close, pretty close. And then you'll never be able to see this part, but I'm going to take an awl and poke 1, 2, 3 holes. I wonder, will I be able to show you? No. Impossible. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. And then fold them. And then you have little tickets, little coupons. Yay! Here is the outside, the cover of the folio. I probably should have cleaned my desk workstation off first before I tried to do this. And so I'm going to try to show you where the scores, where I put the scores. Scoring makes it easier to fold. And so what I did is I lined up this with just a groove, a valley. So there's the groove. I can see the groove at the top and the groove at the bottom. There's not really anything to measure. And then I just softly score with my round scoring tool, my ball-shaped scoring tool. And so I do the one that is just parallel or even with these two flaps, and then on this flap, the larger of the outside flaps, I also do the next valley over, which should be 1/8 of an inch. And I had decided, because I just did 1/8 of an inch on this one, and it's really kind of fatter on that side because of this side. And so I'm going to do another score line 1/4 of an inch away from my first one. You could also just fold it over and do your best with what you got. If it's just your fingers, it's just your fingers. So you would just fold it over even with the sides there, and then back it up a little bit. Can you see this? And then just back it up. Just guess if you're going to do it without a scoreboard. That was not bad. That was not bad. So it winds up being a little squarish, squared off bit. So I'll go back to the scoreboard for this one and do one that's even with the flaps, one that is 1/8 of an inch over the next valley, the next score, and on this one I will do another 1/8 of an inch, so it's 1/4 of an inch from the original, and that will be good, I think. So final one, I did that one by hand. Final one, I will line up the first valley parallel to the flaps and score gently, and then the next one over, which is 1/8 of an inch. And these will be the top and bottom flaps. So closed, it will look like that. And then we'll fold these over. Oh, I think that came out cute. I put just a lace digital file, digital object, and on the back I put a doily and a little outline frame, a little black graphic frame, and some roses. There's a doily back there. And just to make it less busy. I thought this was a little busy. It's a cute digital collage, but so I just changed it up a little bit. That's basically all. So that is it for the cover part. We're going to start with, what are we going to start with? So what I'll use for these little papers in the back is some coffee dyed craft paper and some old book pages. I like them because the type is very small and there's numbers at the bottom, and I'm going to use the parts with the numbers on them. Okay, so here's the die cut pieces. And I think we need to embellish at least a couple of these pages. These are stuck together. There we go. Okay, so I'm choosing this little bunch of roses, but for the sake of being the same as the other as my other folio. This is what I did, which is just to cut off what I thought I was going to use, which is like just a stem. But it didn't work out that way, so I just used this little bunch that's left over and finish distressing one side, and this will go on one of the graph pieces as a pocket. And I used a little mushroom on the first page, and it's right here. It's awesome. So maybe not the whole bottle on this little guy. And then I alternate book page and graph paper. And a very non-technical way of doing this, I just glue the edges and just kind of hope for the best. Glue will do what it does and seep in just a little bit. And so I'm making sure to get a little bit on the back, and I'm going to put it just right here in the middle, middle-ish. Oops. Okay. So I'd like to take the opportunity to remind everybody this is my first tutorial, and I designed this project from scratch, and so along the way there's been changes made and errors made, and so I realized I had sized my interior papers wrong for my exterior cover, and so I've been resizing and remeasuring and restarting. So things might look ever so slightly different than earlier because I redesigned some stuff in the interim. So let me start by doing the first pages in the folio. And we made this little pad already, and I'm just going to glue it in to the back of the folio with a little bit of glue, maybe? No, a lot of glue. And hopefully it's centered-ish. And I will make the top and bottom pockets, which and this is my last night's version, my yesterday's mistake version. And I made these little pockets with a die cut, but my measurements changed. And this is now kind of infringing on the fold. And so I just kind of freehand cut out some pockets, so these should fit better. And I'm just going to put them top and bottom flap. And I made these tags because the tags that I had in mind were also too wide for the spot. So probably should give the glue a second to dry. And those fit in there just right. Okay, so we have the tags for the pockets, and the pockets are down. We're going to attach this flap on the left. This is the flap. So the flap is the same length as to where I want to attach it, and I'm going to just score the side that I'm going to attach it at 1/4 of an inch. And I will glue this side down to the inside of the flap, but first I want to trim this side because these were all meant to be possible interior pages, and so they're the width of the back flap, so they're too wide for this spot. So I'm going to trim just over 1/4 of an inch from here. So that is trimmed. Just a little piece to accommodate it folding in and being able, not impinging on the hinge when it's closed in here also. So I'm just going to run a line of glue right here. Maybe not the whole bottle this time, we'll see. And I'd like to put a pocket here. I think I chose this paper. And I want it to be these flowers, that's right. So I'm going to trim just the center part. Okay. So I just trimmed the edges off so that the pretty part makes up the pocket. And what I want is a little cutout here, and I have an inch stamp, an inch die cut. What is this? Punch. Circle punch. I don't know if I can do this. Okay. Alright, pretty close. Not bad. And then just run a bead along 3 edges. Alright, there's the pocket, and the fold, and the other fold, and so I have this little insert in this spot, but it really doesn't matter what we put in there. So what have I got? Oops, wrong one. Wrong one. Okay. There's that. It doesn't matter, you can switch it up. There's options, obviously. I didn't cut this one out, but I could cut that one out. This is the wrong paper. I could cut this one out. And put that one in there. But so let's move on to this little panel. And I have a portrait of a lady on a little piece of lace and this tiny tag, which I like. So we can do something similar here, and I have glue drying on my page and being shiny. So just whatever. I found this coffee dyed lace, which was being mangled by something. But I think it's a pretty contrast, and so just something a little bit larger than what you'll be putting down. And that's too big. Also has to be very thin, because everything has to fold up and not be too bulky. And I didn't want that lady anymore. I want something else with this here, because it's colorful and because I like it. And so, and now I feel like I cut that piece of lace too small. So I will start over. I am not afraid. Okay, so just glue it down. Somewhere. And some glue for the flower. And my tiny tag, which of course will be lost because it's tiny. Okay. I have to make sure it's not in the fold. Okay, well, there's that. There's the flap. And what goes on this page? Little bird. And a tag and a die cut. Okay, so I'm going to find a piece of book page and my die, my baby die, and also make this insert. Here's my die for that. Here's my die for this, and be right back. Okay, I can't do this plate. I can't do this step yet. I can't do this step yet because that is where the button will go in for the closure. So I'll have to come back to that step and do the pages